So this is going to be my review of Rogue One: Catalyst. This was the novel that came out prior to Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which was meant to be the prequel to that movie. And it is written by probably my favorite author for anything Star Wars, and probably one of my favorite authors in general, James Luceno. You see, when I first heard that Luceno was going to be writing this in anticipation for Rogue One, I was instantly like, I don't even care. I'm reading this. Whether regardless or not I like Rogue One or not, which, yeah, I did like Rogue One, I knew just when James Luceno said, yeah, I'm doing this as a prologue to Rogue One, and I was instantly like, I don't care. I don't care if the movie sucks or not. That this novel is going to be great. And as with most of James Luceno's work, it is Rogue One: Catalyst is the story. Like I said, it's the prequel to Rogue One, and it focuses on primarily Galen Erso, Mad Mikkelsen's character, and Ben Mendelsohn's character, Orson Krennic. And it shows the final days of the Clone Wars all the way into the Empire, and where the movie starts at the beginning. It's a really excellent paced novel that focuses on these two characters and where they go and what their kind of views are from the final days of the Republic and where it is into the early days of the Empire, which I always like to see. I always like novels, and Luceno does this best. He did this in Tarkin as well as Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, where he really nails how the Empire worked when the Republic became shifted into the Empire. And he has such a great voice for the early days of that, and yeah, of showing this kind of just massive shift from the Republic and the Empire, and how the galaxy as well as people are handling this situation. So of course this also delves into the creation of the Death Star, and it's very well written of how it was, where it came from and why it was on Geonosis, what happened to the Geonosians, as well as it goes into a bit more of Geonosian lifestyle, and I really dug that. And it was kind of cool to see Poggle, of all characters, Poggle the Lesser, kind of have these dealings with Krennic. That's the thing I was really interested in reading the most, is a lot of Krennic stuff, because Krennic was to me at least, he was a very interesting villain in Star Wars, in Rogue One, because he's very unlike, characters like Tarkin, Vader, and Palpatine, where they're very much like confident and, they have all this just power and just intimidate you just by looking at you. Krennic is kind of bluffing, really. He's kind of peacocking all of this power, and yet he is also under the heel of Vader and Tarkin, and all he wants is recognition for the creation of the Death Star, because this was all his thing, and then Tarkin just kind of swooped in and was like, yeah, this was meant to be my project, now shoo. So you almost pity him in a way, and I really like that, and this really does play with that kind of perspective of what Krennic has and what he wants to achieve. He just wants to be a higher up in the Empire. So in that regard, it's very cool of how we follow that backstory, and where, it goes into more about Galen as well as Lyra and how they met. And also we get to see Jyn Erso grow up. We get to see her throughout the time. It doesn't really focus on Jyn a lot. It focuses on Galen and Lyra's relationship, and how Krennic is kind of throwing a wheel in everything, because, well, Krennic knows that Galen is probably one of the smartest people in the galaxy, and he knows if anyone can give the Emperor the weapon he needs to finish the Death Star, it's Galen, and he doesn't really go out and outright say it, because he knows Galen's a pacifist. So what I like about it is that Krennic just kind of manipulates the whole situation to make it all kind of fall into place and be like, yeah, I don't have to say it in front of him. I can just manipulate the situation and make him go, yeah, I'll help you build the Death Star. So that's what I really like here with it, and it really does play with that, and it's really cool to see, Tarkin kind of, there's a great interaction between Galen and Tarkin at the beginning, where Galen is being accused of being a separatist, and Tarkin is kind of interrogating him, and Galen just says, look, Senator Palpatine could have prevented this war, but now it's up to people like you who will stop it. And Tarkin just goes, and I will. He's not wrong. And it's really cool to see, the end of the Clone Wars, the ending of the Clone Wars from another perspective outside of the Jedi, because yeah, it wasn't just one play. It happened everywhere, and I'm one, outside of Order 66, a lot of people were just suddenly surprised that after 3 years of fighting in the Clone Wars, yeah, that's the thing, guys, is that the Clone Wars only lasted 3 years. Technically, it's not the longest war that the Republic had in their history. Of course, there's the Sith Empire Wars, the first two of them, and the Mandalorian Wars, which were years and years longer. But the thing about what makes the Clone Wars so different is that in just 3 years, the Republic tore itself apart because it was fighting in a civil war. It wasn't fighting one opponent. It was fighting itself. And Lucino has a good way of explaining that, because, yeah, in just 3 years, the galaxy managed to tear itself apart because, yeah, they weren't fighting the Sith Empire or the Mandalorian Empire. It was themselves, really. So I really like that. This also goes into how the Ursos in general met Saw Gerrera, which was actually really cool, and I liked how they played with them kind of bonding with Saw, and I really enjoyed that. A few things you can always count on in a Lucino novel. A, you're going to see Tarkin. In one way or another, there's a good chance. I know Tarkin's not in every one of Lucino's novels, but for a whole good of them, he even made a Tarkin novel for Disney. So, but yeah, there is. You're going to see Tarkin. Good chance. Also, good chance you're going to have Mas Amedda, Grand Vizier of the Emperor, and Vader. And you get them all in here. You also get stuff. So this was, it's a very well-balanced story. I will say that the one problem I have with this novel, and it's nothing big, it's more of a nitpick, really, and maybe it's just me, but I know my friend Ivan Krolo said the same thing in his review for this novel, was that the one thing that is it's not really a problem, it's more like if you don't get it, and you have to reread it a few times, is they go in detail, in total fucking detail, of the inner workings of the Death Star, of how every little piece goes into it. And it is just so much text and so much, it's not even dialogue, it's just so much text that if you don't pay attention to it, you're gonna get lost on it. So that's kind of the big thing, is that, it's kind of intimidating to read all of that and just kind of be like, wait, how does that go from A to B? So them going into the schematics of the Death Star is a little intimidating, but other than that, the stuff between Krennic and Galen is the big driving force of this novel. The stuff between these guys who are two friends, and how it kind of, all fell apart, really. So, yeah, would I recommend Rogue One Catalyst? Absolutely. If you enjoyed Rogue One, I'd say check it out. If you didn't enjoy Rogue One, and I know a lot of people said, I know a lot of people didn't care much for Rogue One. I liked Rogue One, I really did. But I know a lot of people didn't like Rogue One, that's totally fine. However, I have met people, including Ivan Krolo and a few other people, who are like, yeah, I didn't like Rogue One, but Rogue One Catalyst is fucking great. So even if you didn't like Rogue One, you should really check out, I highly recommend reading Rogue One Catalyst. It may actually fix some of the problems you had with Rogue One. But yeah, there you go, guys. That is my review for Rogue One. You guys comment below, let me know. What did you guys think of Rogue One? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? And once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.